I have a special mind-reading skill. I can hear the voices of people who don't love me, but on the eve of my wedding, I suddenly heard my fiancé's voice. If she tries to steal my wedding tomorrow, it will be difficult for me to escape. Wearing leather shoes, I kept silent and boarded a flight to the country the next day. Later, that wedding became a joke in the whole city. Both the bride and groom escaped. I have always had a special mind-reading skill. I can hear the inner voices of people who don't love me. Because of this ability, I can easily judge whether others' love for me is fake. I can quickly withdraw from fake sisters. I can also remain indifferent to the confession of the male god I have secretly loved for a long time. Even when buying durian, I can buy the one with the most flesh and the sweetest taste through the inner voice of the vendor. Because I can hear every word of their inner voice clearly. Therefore, in order to avoid too much noise in my ears, I will also avoid eye contact with strangers in daily life. But when I first met Alan, the whole world was so quiet that only the clear conversation between the two of us was left. Hello, is it convenient for us to get to know each other? There was no inner voice when our eyes met. I couldn't read Alan's inner voice. Hello. During the time when Alan was pursuing me, the voice in my ears was simple and pure. I believed that he loved me, so we fell in love, dated, and talked about marriage for 2 whole years. I never read his inner voice. But just before the wedding, I could suddenly hear Alan's voice. Because of the wedding, Alan has been very busy recently. He has a good family background and has successfully taken over his father's position and independently managed the Du family's financial company. Because of the wedding schedule, we have a lot of things to deal with in advance. Especially in the past 2 months, I have always been an independent woman, and I also respect Alan's career. Therefore, the number of times we have met during this period is really few and far between. But today, when we finalized the costumes, I couldn't help but feel sweet in my heart. When I thought that this should be a rare time for us to be together, when I arrived at the studio on time, he had already arrived early and was trying on shoes. He turned sideways and told the staff something, then walked out while talking on the phone with a lot of comfort in his words. I can understand his busyness. It is not easy to run a company after all, not to mention that there is more than one heir in the Du family. We looked at each other tacitly, but Alan's voice suddenly rang in my ears. Rena said that we are going to grab the wedding tomorrow, so it's more convenient to wear sneakers. Rena grabbed the wedding. I was stunned when I heard it, staring at his mouth tightly. After confirming that this was his inner voice, I didn't know how to react for a while. It was obviously hot outside in the summer, but the coolness instantly spread to my limbs and bones, forcing me to move. I can hear his inner voice, and what it means is self-evident. I glimpsed that the staff not far away put a pair of light sneakers into the wedding clothes according to his instructions. Alan nodded at me and raised his legs to prepare to go outside. This is our task at understanding. He must have something important to deal with, but the words just now in my ear are not false. I never hear them wrong. My body followed him almost uncontrollably. I ran forward in disbelief and called out Alan. I couldn't wait to read more of his mind to understand what the man in front of me, who was my fiancé, was thinking. Why did he suddenly change his mind on the eve of the wedding? My call made Alan pause as he was about to sink into the back seat, but it was just a pause. He turned around and explained to me in a hurry, then told the driver to step on the accelerator and drive away. Sorry, there is an emergency with the client. I have to rush over. He lied at this moment. He was clearly thinking, I know Rena is angry from the voice on the phone. If I don't coax her, she won't let me go home tonight. I have never been a complaining woman who only knows how to consume herself instead of thinking about it. It is better to take the initiative. I found a reason and privately asked Alan's secretary to come out to get more information. Using mind reading, her name is Rena, and she is Alan's first love. Rena is the illegitimate daughter of the Yu family. Mrs. Yu has never acknowledged her, and her position has always been so awkward. Unfortunately, the elders of the Du family broke up the couple. Rena had a strong self-esteem. After being humiliated, she abandoned Alan and ran away without any news. Alan fell in love with me at first sight just because Rena and I had some similarities between our eyebrows. Now that his first love is back, he naturally doesn't need me as a substitute. And Rena came back just when Alan was too busy in the past 2 months. The logic is smooth and seamless. After hearing such a story, I couldn't help but shake my head and laugh. I didn't expect that such a cliché substitute literature could be applied to me. Rena wanted to use the method of snatching the marriage to declare the ownership of Alan, and, by the way, she wanted to retaliate against the title of Alan's wife that I had occupied for so long. And Alan also needed this occasion to prove his consistent love for Rena to please his angry little wife and then force the Du family to recognize Rena. And this carefully prepared wedding were just part of their plan. To be honest, I was so crazy that I couldn't help but curse that night. The lights in my house were still on. The wedding was the next day, but I was busy packing my luggage and had no time to spare. 2 hours ago, I had booked a first-class flight abroad. They are all crazy, so I'll be crazy too. Alan can be robbed of his marriage by Rena, so I can naturally play the game of disappearing from the world and escape the marriage. Fortunately, my family has long settled abroad, and this wedding did not go to great lengths to invite relatives and friends there. I just invited friends who usually have a good relationship in China. At the beginning, I thought that the parents of the two families had met when they were engaged, and then we would hold another wedding abroad to save relatives and friends from the language barrier. This plan makes it easier for me to escape from marriage. Now, I briefly told my best friend Cassie about my idea. She took the packing box from my hand silently with a serious face. I couldn't read her mind, and seeing that she didn't react well, I had to ask her, "Cassie, are you going to stop me?" Cassie rolled her eyes and said to me unhappily, "Mississippi, I brought you a sack of Euro. It's durable for storing things." Oh my God, I forgot that Cassie's family is engaged in pesticides. On the wedding day, Alan and I, dressed in wedding dresses, welcomed the guests from afar. This time, Alan's voice was so noisy that it gave me a headache. "Is Rena here? I can finally be with Rena. I have been waiting for Rena for 3 years. She is finally going to be my wife this time. Rena will believe that my heart is unswerving." I couldn't help but frown and look at Alan several times with a cold chill, but he didn't show it on his face and still cared about me with his gentle and elegant look as before. "Zoe, you don't look very well. Why don't you go to the lounge to rest first? I will receive the guests outside, and you can enter the wedding. In fact, it's almost time for me to find an excuse to escape." I responded, and when I was about to change my dress into casual clothes, I ran into Rena at the door. Thanks to the similar appearance and mind-reading ability, when we looked at each other, I recognized her almost at first sight. I held down Cassie's arm, who was wearing her bridesmaid dress and ready to beat up her mistress, and pretended to be oblivious. "Are you Ellen's friend? Come in quickly. Our wedding will start in a few hours." Rena's smile stopped abruptly, as if she was not satisfied with my calling Alan so intimately. Her words were even more sarcastic. "Miss Zoe, I'm sorry we are wearing the same clothes today. If someone who doesn't know sees this, will they think I am the bride today?" Rena's arrogant inner voice sounded in my ears at the same time. "Laugh in 3 hours. Your groom will run away from me. Will you still be able to laugh then?" I still kept smiling, shook my head, and didn't care. I told the waiter to take her to a seat. "Stupid, I've said so much. Can't you see that I'm here to cause trouble?" Just when we passed each other, Cassie couldn't help but complain to me. Look at her arrogant look. It's really unbearable. I couldn't deny it. She is treating me as a joke now. After all, Alan is ready to be robbed of his marriage by her. At that time, she can have the title of lovers, finally getting married, and force the Du family to recognize her identity in front of me. The wedding venue was not far from the airport. When I was sitting in the waiting room, the wedding had not started yet. I stared at the time on my phone, waiting for the farce to begin. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The phone vibrated continuously. Cassie excitedly refreshed the screen to live broadcast. "Zoe, the wedding was really stolen. Damn cheating and making it like the cowherd and the weaver girl. How shameless." The ceremony officially started for only 5 minutes, and Cassie sent me a video of the wedding scene. According to the process, after Alan came on stage, the MC told a cheesy and sensational love story, and then the bride should come on stage. Rena wanted to steal the wedding at this critical moment. Rena deliberately wore the same reception dress as the bride, stepped forward quickly, and grabbed the microphone of the MC. Although there was a lot of discussion in the audience, she was still talking about her love. Such boldness and explicitness made Alan's eyes red. "Alan, are you willing to go with me?" There was an uproar in the guest seats. "Taking the groom away on the wedding day, isn't this naked wedding robbery? The worst thing is that Alan nodded in agreement with a touching look on his face, walked over to Rena and held her fingers. I do. Rena's swollen vanity was fully satisfied at this moment. She even felt like giving a receiving speech to the bride across the door, saying that I know you like Alan very much, but Alan loves me the most, and I hope you can make it happen. In the video, Alan was wearing a pair of sneakers that didn't match a suit and dress. Rena, who was holding the microphone, couldn't help but looked proud. Rena probably couldn't wait to see me in a state of despair, and she had even thought of how to comfort me. I hope Miss Zoe can help Alan and I have this good story. Miss Zoe, the atmosphere suddenly became awkward at this point. After all, if the person who was slapped in the face was not there, then this cool show would be a farce of the clown. Miss Zoe, Rena shouted several times in a row, but no one answered. Until the etiquette officer opened the door. There was no one behind the door, only the white veil that was thrown away casually symbolized the bride's whereabouts. The crowd suddenly became noisy, and I don't know who shouted, "Damn, is the bride running away from marriage?" In the quiet waiting room, I suddenly laughed out loud. Of course, I had to help them. After all, there were people I knew among the guests. If they want to escape the marriage and stand them up, it would be my fault. It would be better to let them watch a joke for free. I couldn't help shaking my head and laughing at this. At this moment, a text and picture suddenly appeared on the big screen with red fonts saying escape statement. Because Alan cheated on his mistress Rena, I decided to escape the marriage. I will make this joke for you. I hope you two will not separate in the future and don't run out to harm others. Below it was also attached a recent intimate photo of Alan and Rena. Buzz, Cassie popped up a message for me. Mission completed successfully. Seeing this message, I also sent a copy of the same statement on WeChat, which was also the last circle of friends of this number. The people at the scene were immediately furious. Who is time to laugh at me now? The bigger joke was that they were still holding hands on the stage. The bride has disappeared. Who would care whether Alan and Rena run away or not? And Rena just expressed her love on the stage by herself, which looked particularly ridiculous, with the bright red word cheating on the big screen. What good words, it's just a fig leaf for cheating. Cassie was so excited that she flew up, but she played another video to me in 2 minutes. In the video, no one paid attention to the two idiots standing on the stage, and the crowd was looking for me in a mess. Where's Zoe? Where's Miss Zoe? Where's the bride? I can't get through to her on the phone. How can I find her? Have you looked in the lounge? Look in the dressing room. Look in the room on the top floor. Everywhere. What are you all standing there for? Get moving. Get moving. Even Alan's parents, who had been looking gloomy, stood up eagerly and told the staff to find me. The guests also took action. No one cared about the two people on the stage. Even the MC was asked to leave the stage. Alan and Rena stood on the stage awkwardly, looking at each other like monkeys being pushed out for public display, at a loss. What's even funnier is that the audience were busy looking for me, the missing groom. No one cared whether they were leaving. The romantic and exciting escape scene imagined by Rena and Alan was made as messy as the old men and women grabbing free eggs at the door of the supermarket by my sudden disappearance. The two of them stood on the stage. This marriage is not right to escape. It's not right not to escape. If I escape, no one cares. If I don't escape, no one cares either. It's almost time. I sent a message to Cassie on WeChat to prepare for boarding and then explained the situation to my parents in a message as briefly as possible, asking them not to disclose any of my personal information. I turned on the flight mode on my phone, nestled in the first-class cabin, and enjoyed the flight time of more than 10 hours. As soon as I landed, Cassie's message popped up frantically and quickly. It seems that the follow-up of this matter is very interesting. Even when I replied to the first sentence, Cassie couldn't help but call me directly. Ha ha ha, Zoe, you are too cruel. You don't know Hong Kong City is in chaos now. Those who came are relatives and friends of the DU family, many of whom are well-known figures. When you escaped from marriage, they were in chaos. Those two idiots stood on the stage for 10 minutes and no one cared about them. In the end, they walked down by themselves. I found it funny. Look at the hot searches now. The video has rushed to the top. Nyson says that these two are a crazy husband and wife. Just now, the bastard chased to your villa. When he saw you were not there, he was so angry that he jumped at the door. He pressed your doorbell like sending a telegram. Beep, beep, beep. I was just about to run away when he caught up with me. This cheap man had the nerve to ask me where I went. I said you had gone abroad and didn't know anything else. It was so funny. He ran really fast in sneakers. Just listening to Cassie's breathless laughter told me how much trouble Alan had suffered this time. He didn't get the marriage and lost all his face. I wasn't surprised at Alan's reaction. Alan dared to do this because he knew that I would not make a big deal for the sake of the Du and Wei families. In the end, I just endured the marriage robbery silently. After all, the Wei family's assets are all abroad, and the Du family will not be affected too much. I can also take the opportunity to force Alan's parents to recognize Rena as their daughter-in-law. After all things have come to this point, if they don't admit it, it will be embarrassing in front of so many guests. But Alan didn't expect that I would run away from the marriage. Just tear off this fig leaf and stuff it into his and Rena's mouths to discuss them. Let them be. Love is enjoyment, but when it comes to marriage, it's just endurance. The days of Cinderella and the prince are not just about the wedding day. What they have to face every day is the tiring daily life. When you are at a dead end, you should turn around in time. I have escaped an unhappy marriage, so I want to set off firecrackers to celebrate. My parents settled abroad in their early years. The marriage and love atmosphere there is open, and they pursue freedom and casualness. What's more, Alan and I haven't had time to get a marriage certificate. From a legal point of view, we are not even husband and wife. So when I asked to come back, my parents agreed very quickly. Even when I just got off the plane, my parents had arranged for someone to pick me up. When I got into the car, Cassie was still excitedly telling me about the follow-up. The wedding ended up being canceled. Later, the guests left one by one, and only some staff members were left. Our family has a good relationship with the Du family, so we stayed to comfort Alan's mother, who was so angry that she couldn't stand steadily. Alan's mother was so angry that she slapped Alan in the face. If you ask me, he deserved it. Everyone knows how much you helped him. In order to get Alan to the top, Rena is an illegitimate daughter. It's a shame for the Du family to run away from the marriage in public. Alan's father didn't even look at him and just left. Only Rena was left crying beside him. When I left, I saw Rena crying and pastoring Alan. I'm not going to hold a wedding. I think I've lost must face this time. I sneered and said, people who insult others will always be insulted. I'm waiting for their wedding. If they really get married, I will definitely bless them sincerely. The lethality of first love is that even if she comes in person, it won't work. I think Alan will understand this truth soon. Alan and I met at a charity dinner. Although the Wei family's assets have been transferred abroad, my parents and I are both from Hong Kong. My parents are already old, and their bodies can't bear the long time of international flights. I came back that time for a business trip and to trace my roots. But I didn't expect to meet the man I thought I was destined to be with. At that time, Alan called me over, holding a glass of red wine. He had a gentle smile and a cool posture. Because of my mind-reading ability, I rarely take the initiative to talk to people in such public places unless it is necessary. Though it was too noisy. When Alan called me, the impatience on my face didn't even disappear, but strangely, I didn't hear any of his inner thoughts. Maybe because it was too quiet, I gradually gained patience to talk to him. Later, when he confessed to me, he was so shy that he didn't know where to put his hands and feet. The hand holding the rose was shaking slightly. Zoe, I will treat you well for the rest of my life. We looked at each other, but I couldn't read his heart, so I nodded. I believed Alan's promise and was willing to stay in the country and marry him. I never doubted the promise at that moment, but promises only count when there is love in my eyes. Rena and Alan's love story is actually a story of unrequited love and youth. Rena may not be as beautiful as Alan imagined, and Alan may not love Rena as much as he imagined. Love is most touching only when it is unrequited. Half a month later, when I had just finished Professor Parsons' design class, I received a call from Cassie. Didn't I receive the wedding invitation of that bastard a few days ago? When I went there today, I thought it was a banquet held in some village. It was not as lively as the last time I went to the north to eat pig-killing dishes. Cassie is obviously a reporter who works on the front line of gossip. She told me about this sensational wedding in a rambling way. Alan's father didn't come at all. Many people didn't come to this wedding either. It's nothing like your original one. The ceremony was held in the secondary hall. Only Alan's mother came with a gloomy face. She drank the tea with a cold face. Don't even mention giving out red envelopes. She still calls her Miss Rena when speaking on the stage. She still scolded Miss Rena to be obedient and know the rules of propriety. Haha, it's really unpleasant to hear the old generation scolding people with culture. Rena was so angry that she dropped her bouquet in the audience. Alan had to coax his mother and wife at the same time. I almost died of laughter. It's normal according to Alan's mother's personality. It is her usual style not to hold this wedding, but she couldn't resist Rena whispering in her son's ear, so she had to suppress her anger and come to attend. But Rena offended her mother-in-law before she got married. Can she have a good life in the future? I also heard that Rena has been putting people in Alan's company recently. She feels comfortable once she gets married. The Yu family also recognizes her identity, and her own business has also taken off. It's good to lean on a big tree for shade. Now I think of how hard you work to get resources for Alan, but now Rena has taken all the benefit. I hate it so much. I kept flipping through the project information and chatted with Cassie with the speaker on. I'm not losing money either. I've made a lot of money among them. But Alan's life is not easy. He does have the right to operate, but the specific decision-making power is still with his father. It's impossible for the Du group to be named Yu in the end. Besides, there are more than one young man in the Du family. It's really hard to say. But I understand Alan's ambition. The company is not his one-man show. I guess Rena should play the game of acting first and asking for permission later to put people in. Thanks to the wedding, my domestic partners also knew about the feud between Alan and me. They also revealed some information to me. For example, the Du family directly pushed Alan's cousin up, and the pressure was very obvious. Love and career, I guess Alan is also very difficult to do in the middle. Cassie was obviously dissatisfied with my speech. What do you mean, Mercy? You still feel sorry for his life. So are you going to give him warmth next? I curved my eyebrows. It's definitely impossible. I'm wondering if I can take this opportunity to make a fortune. Great. I thought you were in love, but I didn't expect you to be a capitalist. But I didn't expect that I would receive a call from Ellen 2 months later. Zoe, after such a long time, I suddenly heard his voice, which made me shudder. Alan, no wonder the professor refused to tell me the client's name. He always told me that it was an old acquaintance. It turned out to be you. My attitude towards Alan finding me was a bit indifferent. I went abroad not to attend a funeral. The domestic and foreign circles are so small, and there are no barriers to business now. Alan just needs to spend more time to find me. Zoe, his hesitant attitude annoyed me, and I rolled my eyes silently in my heart. What do you mean? I don't have any old feelings to talk about with an ex-boyfriend who cheated on me. I am kind enough not to wish him a happy life. I said hello because he is the client. I interrupted Alan coldly. If there is no problem, I'll introduce this project to Mr. Alan. Alan was obviously still immersed in his own emotions, talking about the past. Zoe, I'm sorry for what happened back then. I know I hurt you a lot, so you ran away from marriage and went abroad in anger. I'm sorry. I do owe you an apology. I was silent for a while inside. Mr. Alan, have you got what you wanted now? The other end of the phone fell into a long silence, and Alan's voice suddenly became tired. I don't know. Rena is very different from before. I almost doubt whether she is the Rena I loved. Sorry, I know I shouldn't disturb your current life, but I just suddenly wanted to talk to you for a while. I attended a cocktail party today, and suddenly thought of the days when I fought side by side with you in the past. I sneered and didn't intend to continue this relatively mild call. Rena, if you know that you and I are in touch now, it's not appropriate. Assistant, come over here. It's hard for you to talk to Mr. Allen. Let me introduce this project. I have something else to do. Excuse me. No matter how thrilling the first love is, it will become a sticky rice after a long time. The mosquito blood that was once considered tasteless will suddenly become a sinner mole once it is not obtained. No matter how much a person is loved, he will miss the love that he did not get. Regarding Alan's confession, I could only say silently in my heart that he deserves it. I left the follow of the project to my assistant. Occasionally, I would give some guidance if there was something I was unsure about, but I would try to avoid direct contact with Alan. I knew very well what Alan was thinking, but since he betrayed me for the first time, I would never give him a second chance. The assistant went to China on my behalf and successfully won the project. He also brought back another piece of news. Mr. Allen asked me to tell you that he is divorced. When Rena stuffed someone into the company, I already had a vague idea in my mind. I just didn't expect it to come so soon. Even when I sent a message to Cassie, she was a little surprised. I just found out too. How come you are so well informed? I curled my lips. He got in touch with me again because of a project some time ago, and he specifically asked my assistant to tell me about this. Cassie clicked her tongue twice and took over the conversation. Everyone knows Si Xia's intentions, but why is this guy still haunting you? What do you think of you as a spare tire? So disgusting. But do you know why they divorced? Rena played Alan around. She was married abroad with a foreign tycoon and came to China because she didn't get any money from the lawsuit with her stepson. When Alan's mother found out, her hands were shaking with anger. Without saying a word, she slapped the photo on Ellen's face. You didn't see it? Alan's face was so black that it could drip water. She has done a lot of dirty things since she got married, and her relationship with Alan has become increasingly cold. Now that this matter has been exposed, Alan the next day someone was sent to draft a divorce agreement. Divorces are so straightforward now. I remember that Alan gave up all his property to be with her. Now they are getting divorced after just 1 year of marriage. Thinking about his faith at the time, I guess he feels stupid. I suddenly thought of what Alan had said to me at that time. Rena has changed. I just thought it was funny. Rena may not have changed, but she just didn't fit Alan's imagination. The novelty faded, and true love slowly emerged. Aside from the communication on the project, Alan and I had no contact anymore. I was selectively blind to his emails or friend requests. He was good at using imagination to fall in love with a perfect object. It used to be Rena, and now it's probably me again. Let him be. Now I have my own brand new life. As for Alan, to me now, he is just an old story, not worth mentioning. It wasn't until Cassie was preparing to get married that I returned to Hong Kong City after many years. My daughter Laura also returned with me. My husband is a foreign Chinese. When I returned to China, he was doing scientific research in Antarctica. Otherwise, he would have accompanied me to the wedding. This time, after chatting with Cassie, Laura said she wanted to go to the children's playground in the nearby shopping mall. Thinking that she had no playmates in China, I nodded and led her there. Laura was obviously very excited and almost trotted all the way there. I had a hard time chasing her in high heels. Before she knew it, Laura bumped into someone at the corner. I hurriedly chased after her to check on Laura and comfort her. I'm sorry. The child is ignorant. I hope she didn't hurt you. Zoe, the person sounded surprised and familiar, so I looked up. Alan. To be honest, I didn't dare to confirm it was him until I looked closely. I suddenly realized that this mall seemed to be owned by the Duke family, so it was not surprising that he was here. Whether it was his figure or his temperament, Alan was very different from before. He looked much more haggard and decadent from a distance, a bit like a 35-year-old who was laid off in the middle of his life. He was very different from the energetic him in my impression. Alan showed a bit of surprise on his face and curled his lips. Long time no see. This is my daughter Laura. Our eyes met, but I didn't hear his inner voice this time. I heard you were married a long time ago, but I didn't expect your daughter to be so b. Laura spoke before me. Sorry, uncle, I bumped into you. Alan's expression was stunned for a moment, but he finally reached out and touched Laura's head, leaned down and smiled and talked to Laura. It's okay, Laura. Remember not to run so fast next time. Manager Wang, take Laura to the children's playground over there to play. Zoe, there's a new coffee shop on the 2nd floor. Your favorite Robusta, is it? Is it convenient to catch up? I nodded and told Laura a few words. Actually, before I came back, I had already talked about Alan's current situation in detail. The impact and blow of Rena's incident on Alan were huge. The Du family later turned to support his cousin to take the position. As for Alan, he could only be awkwardly treated coldly by the Du family. The former favorite of heaven has now become a marginal person. Love is gone, career failed, and the gloomy atmosphere is so strong that it is terribly heavy, even though he is in the prime of his life. Hello, 1 cup of Robusta and 1 cup of Capra. Thank you. No, please change Robusta to Vienna. Alan asked me with a smile, change your taste? I remember you didn't like these sweet coffees before. I shook my head. My husband always said that Rusta has a lot of caffeine, and drinking too much hurts the stomach, so he always changed it to Vienna. After drinking it for a long time, I also like sweet coffee. It's good. I saw your wedding scene. It's very romantic. Is it the famous castle in Switzerland? I happened to be on a business trip at that time, so I went to see it by the way. The Du family has no business in Switzerland, but I didn't expose it and smiled and agreed. Greeting each other like normal, ordinary friends. Would you mind approving my friend request? I put down my coffee cup and smiled faintly at Alan. No, I know what you mean. You don't have to take it too seriously. For me, that was a thing of the past. Besides, it was obviously you who lost face. I did love you, but I don't love you anymore. I have a happy family, a husband who loves me, and a lovely daughter. I am living a brand new life. I am not willing to contact the wrong person in the old days. Alan, if you miss it, you miss it. Love or hate, it doesn't matter. My overly calm expression hurt him, and Alan's eyes were slightly red when I went back to find Laura. Manager Wong was holding a fairy tale book and reading it with her attentively. Only when I approached did Laura look up and ask me, Mom, have you read The Little Prince? The fox is so good. Why did the little prince choose the rose in the end? Because it is the unique rose that he care nurtured. Laura's eyes were blank, and I smiled and took her hand. When Laura grows up a little bit, she will understand what Mom says. Alan on the side was very quiet all the time, but when leaving the mall, he gave Laura a brand new copy of The Little Prince. Alan and I nodded goodbye through the car window. At the moment when our eyes met, I still couldn't read his heart, as if I had returned to the first time we met. The car slowly drove away from the original place, and the Fig F of the old friend was abandoned there. I embraced my daughter's soft body. This is the last revenge I gave him. A gentle and decent exit from now on. Memories will be the only way for us to meet. And I will replace Rena and become the lover that Alan has been looking for in his life. In Alan's world, the lover he can never get is not a rainstorm, but a long dampness in his life. He will be trapped in this dampness forever, and in every calm day, a storm will be set off. I used to be a fox and a red rose, but now I am just a little prince who has finished his journey. My daughter held the phone and prided me. Mom, Dad wants to talk to you.